Another one?
It would appear that while I was away from the internet touching grass this weekend, with my family, we were blessed from the heavens above with yet another Idubbbz video about Ethan Klein to react to, but I just don't get it, man. Like, is rent really that high? Is he seriously that late on it? Because I'm pretty sure the first of the month was a few days ago, but never mind all that bullshit, because we're here to have a little chat about Content Deputy H3. I'm sure this will be about as fun as the last one, so not really. Let's just get right into it. I'm sure it'll be oh so educational as always.
I was hoping that if I made a video about Ethan, he would act like an adult and he would keep the attacks directed at me and Anissa. Unfortunately, I was wrong in thinking that, because Ethan, in a desperate attempt to attack and smear Anissa and I, he started attacking our charity event.
I don't know if you know this, but last year they lost $250,000. To be charitable, you actually have to give money to charity, son. You have to give money to be charity.
He's reposting random troll accounts that are very easy to vet. If you click on this profile, it has a bunch of Sam Hyde adjacent posts, and it just hates Anissa and I. Come on, dude, you're one step away from calling me a cuck. Just take the plunge. He's highlighting this post that equates Creator Clash to a crypto rug pull. He's saying the event is gonna be worse than TanaCon. Can't wait for them to blame us for their failed event.
So we're not even 2 minutes in at this point, and Ian is already playing the victim card, go figure, as if this isn't some sort of two-sided beef, right? A two-way street, if you will. He's acting like he's done nothing wrong in this scenario. He's just blameless. He didn't possibly do anything that would elicit such a response from Ethan, right? No. Oh, poor Ian, right? Just getting fucking dunked on. It's almost like you get wrapped up in some sort of online beef and, you start hurling insults at one another. Eventually, the other party in question is maybe going to do the exact same thing to defend themselves. I know, crazy concept, right? I'm just genuinely so confused. Is Ian suggesting that Ethan should just roll over, after this months-long tirade? And, let's not forget the 1-hour content cop surrounding this beef that was just released a couple weeks ago. Maybe suck his cock, too, while he's at it. I'm so confused, bro. Ian is just as much at fault here, and yet he's trying to act like this is so one-sided, and he's not to blame in the slightest.
Don't worry, Hila. I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so that will rest solely on my shoulders. But I can't speak for the internet. The internet might actually blame you guys for it. Now, with this recent revelation that people are just going to use Creator Clash to attack Anissa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash. We have relinquished control to our business partners who ran the previous 2 events. They're very capable. They know exactly what they're doing. They run events on a regular basis.
Does anyone else not find it a little bit ironic that Ian causes such a stink about Ethan being too afraid to take any sort of accountability, but then in the same breath he forfeits the reins of an event that's destined to fail? I don't know, it seems just kind of shitty to me, because now it's someone else's problem, even though they're the ones that has caused it to fail. And also, this just seems like a way for them to deflect criticism and any sort of blame headed their way when it inevitably fails. Oh, well, guys, we weren't the ones running the event, so it's not our fault. This dude is so fucking scared of criticism. He's clearly in the wrong profession. He's so upset about a couple of mean words regarding his charity event that he and his wife are just gonna cower away in fear, but not before dishing out their own fair share of shit talk. I swear, man, Idubbbz in the Big 25 is the poster child for dishes it out but can't take it. But what's equally as ironic in all of this is that he bitches and moans and cries about Ethan calling his charity event a failure and how that's so fucked up, but if you really think about it, him passing the torch on to someone else is essentially a direct admission that Ethan is spot on. To me, that's so hilarious. So essentially, he's butthurt about a couple of mean comments, but then through his own cowardice, proves those mean words are in fact true. I mean, you couldn't fill that stadium if they were paying us to go. You've got fighters dropping out, but because of Ian's massive ego, he's unable to come to terms that this event is going to fail, not because of Ethan's mean words or anything like that, but rather just honestly due to Ian's incompetence and his willingness to get wrapped up in a honestly petty beef surrounding personal politics and personal attacks, and I don't know, the whole thing is just really, really silly. There's no way this turns a profit. I'd love to be wrong because it is for charity, but like, am I crazy for thinking this way? And again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, but like, it's just a couple of mean words, right? Like, they're talking shit back and forth. And yet Ian, this whole entire video talks about how, oh, you know, we're just getting slandered and we're getting ran through, when in reality, it's just a couple of mean words here and there. Like, why play the victim so hard when it's clear as day that you're also contributing to the beef? Like, I don't know, it's just absolutely insane to me.
I think the worst criticisms I labeled at Ethan is that he's a bad boss, a tyrant of a boss. I just implied that he was being taken advantage of by people either in his community or outside of his community, and I called him a bitch-made coward. That was like the summary of personal insults labeled at Ethan.
I mean, that's just simply not true. I don't know what to say other than Idubbbz is lying, man. You know, he did more than that. I mean, I've already mentioned it, but shit, I'll say it again. You know, he made an entire content cop dedicated to shitting on him, and even thought to include some of the people who've been maliciously harassing both him and his family. And with the help of people like Hassan, Denims, and Frogan, they've classified him as and accused him of being a Zionist, which has pretty negative implications, both career-wise and in the real world. It's like to sit here and say, you know, oh, I didn't really do anything, you know, I just called him a cowardly bitch. Like, it's so much more than that, man. Well, what are we doing here? Come on. And this drama, which Idubbbz has been a huge part of, has gotten so bad that it's escalated to the point where the FBI has had to get involved. And yet Idubbbz continually fails to condemn his friends and instead plays into this Zionist narrative. You know, making an hour-long video about how he's so shitty just because of his personal politics. But sure, buddy, you only have called a few names. You know, there's honestly so much more, which we'll get into in a second. But there is something I want to point out before I forget. You see, if there's anything I'm going to side with Ian on, it's this.
Like, Ethan, under a year ago, was saying he doesn't use anti-Semitism in that way. He's not a guy to call anything and everything anti-Semitic.
Like, people were saying in my last video, you know, that I'm an Ethan fanboy and that I love Ethan. I'm subscribed with notifications on, that I have an H3H3 tramp stamp and what have you. But none of that is true. Well, maybe the last part, but I'm not an Ethan Klein fan. I just think what has happened to him and his family over an internet beef that should have stayed online is fucked up. But at the same time, I will call out bullshit when I see it.
Fast forward to him reacting to my video, he's just outright calling me a fucking Nazi.
Is it a coincidence that Ian really shaved his head just before doing this video and he's holding a swastika one? I mean, we can free Palestine without being a Nazi. You fucking Nazis. How about that? Well, this is the white savior, Ian, who's just found empathy, unless you're Jewish, of course.
Ethan, people are allowed to shave their head and not be called anti-Semitic. I mean, if you're going to critique his podcast or be pissed off that he personally insulted you, even that is enough to be called anti-Semitic. It's fucking crazy.
Like that clip, for example, man, this is childish and it serves no point. I can't stand people that throw the word Nazi around, man, just so frivolously. It starts to lose all meaning, and it's just a key indicator that you're losing in an argument, right? That you're running out of ammo. When you start calling people Nazi and anti-Semitic over internet beef, that's when I feel like you've started to lose the plot. Like, is Ethan valid in being upset at Idubbbz? Of course he is, but like, why are we resorting to such low effort or like low hanging fruit insults that serve no purpose other than to making you appear ignorant, which is actually one of the many criticisms that Ethan has already received from both Idubbbz and a lot of his collaborators, you know, that he has no idea what he's talking about amidst all this. Like, why stoop to that level? I don't even know why personal politics has to creep its way into all this. Again, a senseless internet beef. Like, just tell your story, provide the evidence to what you're claiming, and keep politics and all this childish bullshit out of it. Because, you know, frankly, these are really, really dangerous insults that are coming out from both of these people. And that's just honestly the way I see it, man. Like, neither of these people have handled this properly, in my opinion.
I'm done being nice to Ethan. I gave it a chance. My sincerity and my empathy in that last video was real. I was even equating to him having crash out moments in the same way that Denims could have crash out moments. I think we're all capable of it, but he was using it in the video to suggest that I was making fun of his mental health.
To my good friend Ian of 8 years, I really appreciate you weaponizing my mental health against me.
To make Ethan crash out. He's having a parasocial weird crash out. people can have crash out moments. Maybe if Ethan's able to get some help. Dude, I'm not making fun of your mental health. Every example you used was me basically saying that other people are trying to affect you. It's understandable that you're going through this right now, Ethan. We all go through this.
Shut the fuck up. God damn.
I'm so tired of this guy repeating that he has empathy. You know, I'm sorry, but that's just not true. I don't think either of these people have really displayed any sort of empathy here, because when you have to highlight the fact that you're just so full of empathy as often as he has, you know, chances are it's pretty safe to say that he doesn't have empathy. It's like people who self-proclaim themselves as being humble, right? You know, these people are almost never humble. Also, people that have empathy don't use something as debilitating as mental health and try to use it as a weapon, you know, as Ian has towards Ethan. You know, referring to his frustration with the whole CPS incident as just a mere crash out, right? Instead of acknowledging them as genuine points and genuine frustrations. And I get they've been beefing for a long time, like I get this is ongoing, but I just don't feel that's something that someone with such an overflowing amount of empathy would do. I mean, how can you claim to care about his mental health, you know, when he made a 1 hour long hit piece on him and then he's now currently shitting on him with this one? And if he actually meant that, you know, if he actually meant like, oh, you know, he needs help, you know, this is a genuine crisis. Ethan, it's okay to need help from time to time. Don't you think he would have framed it like that initially if that's actually how he meant it to be perceived? I don't know. I just feel like he's gaslighting everybody. And a lot of people are believing it too. That's the sad part. But if nothing else, you know, if none of that resonates or makes any sort of sense, consider this, you know, empaths don't spend the first 5 minutes of their shitty content cop flipping the bird and saying fuck you like they all did in that opening segment of the content cop.
I wonder why I wouldn't mention the CPS call. Could it be that the CPS call happened the same day that you were shit-talking me and I didn't have any chance to defend myself? You just immediately, in the same podcast, right next to each other, said, CPS call was very traumatic. And then you said, fuck Ian and Anissa. And you linked those together, you kind of layered those flavors, and then Anissa and I got a bunch of harassment. We had nothing to do with the CPS call.
What the fuck you mean you had no time to defend yourself? Isn't that the whole point of the content cop? Like, am I missing something? Because according to Ian, you know, he's just so innocent and he now has to defend himself. Like, dude is talking more nonsense than the Jehovah's Witnesses at my front door, once again ducking the original critique of him knowingly admitting the CPS call. Like, bro, just answer the question. That's the main criticism that he's received from the content cop, is that he just refuses to address that. Like, come on, man, let's get to it. But let's not forget that he actually did have a lot to do with the CPS call, because he omitted it from his video, but in the same video, he also misled his audience by parading how good of a person Idubbbz is when she was one of the biggest voices spreading that false narrative. Like, again, internet beef should never get to the point where it could affect someone else's family. That shit needs to stay on the internet. But to say you have nothing to do with weaponizing someone's mental health and nothing to do with contributing to this CPS drama is just a straight up lie when you're going to such great efforts to protect the people most responsible for it. And he makes a big stink about how Ethan doesn't know who actually made the CPS call. He uses the debate with Hassan as one of his talking points, but it's like, that doesn't even really matter. It really doesn't matter who made the call when you and your friends are perpetuating the narrative. Like, it doesn't matter who the fuck presses the call button, right?
Ethan, having made so many enemies over the years, other people react to his content. And when other people see that he's talking about his children getting giardia from dog poop.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
People are quite reasonably concerned. And so, yes, anyone who's seeing that content might be concerned enough to call CPS, including Ethan's own chat. Now, what Ethan does, instead of taking any responsibility for sharing too much on his live stream, is that he decides to attack specific creators like Idubbbz and say she was the source of the CPS call because her chat was reacting to Ethan and saying, wow, this is concerning.
So yes, you unfortunately heard that correctly. This man is up here on his YouTube soapbox defending the CPS call, man. Like, what the fuck am I hearing, man? So nowhere does the H3 podcast suggest that the kids are eating dog shit off the ground, right? And that this mansion that they live in is just full of dog shit, right? Like, Idubbbz and anyone else that unironically subscribes to that needs to be sentenced to dinner without YouTube, dog. Like, what the fuck is this? People like Ian and Denims, for example, are perpetuating this narrative. You see, the false narrative emerges, and then they hop on stream in front of their audiences and start contributing to the discourse, right? And even going as far to suggest that CPS get involved. You very quickly start becoming a part of the problem when you do that. But I'm supposed to sit here and believe that because you may or may not have picked up the phone that your hands are clean in all of this. Again, this never happened. You know, these kids are not eating dog shit. And if they were, I'd understand CPS being called, but that is simply not the case. And he's out here talking about accountability once again, but this dude refuses to acknowledge the fact that he has advocated for people that are spreading this narrative and that he's defending them. These actions, or I guess like inactions, depending on how you want to look at it, are one of the key reasons why this drama took place in the first place. So to claim innocence and even defend the end result of CPS having to come is flat out insane. Like, this affects so many more people than just his little circle jerk of degenerates, right? Now a CPS agent has to come out, resources that are already stretched thin are being wasted, and he's out here slandering someone and potentially ruining their careers over some stupid ass internet beef. This is what real slandering looks like. You know, Idubbbz all video has been talking about how he's being slandered when in reality he's just making a couple of jokes or shitting on his charity event, right? And as for Denims here, I want to go ahead and show a clip real quick of her honestly advocating for CPS to be called, because he'll deny it, but I mean, the evidence is irrefutable.
He lets his dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it or if it's just from like contact with it with their hands or something. But they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog shit that is all over his house.
Dude, how is it that like maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where Ethan tells a story about his family getting Giardia.
We already have mold Mondays. Now we have shit Saturdays.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of things that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem. A child, a small infant that has no immune system, shouldn't be catching anything.
I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that I said in this story, which by the way was apparently compiled by his crew, playing.
No wonder this motherfucker is always sick. Yeah. It all makes sense now. It makes sense why he doesn't care about Palestinian children when he is neglecting his own.
Just a couple of things to close out the video here. First of all, she's responsible for her own chat. You can see in her chat, it's just flooded with, oh, CPS needs to get involved. Call CPS, right? Like, she needs to shut those rumors down. You know, her inaction is making her just as guilty. And second, the statement she made in this clip and her overall body language suggests that she did in fact assume these rumors were true. Like, if you tune into this live stream and you hear some of the shit that they're saying, like, oh, Ethan's always involved in some new shit, or you consider the fact that she invited someone onto her stream who's clearly perpetuating the narrative, am I really supposed to sit there and assume that she's innocent in all of this? No, I'm not. This one clip alone is more than enough to manipulate an audience, and honestly, watch the clip again and try and tell me she's not clearly playing into it or feeding into this narrative. But guys, I'm done with this drama. No outro. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.